Greetings, humans. Today I'm working on something of an impulse project. Do I already have 10 sewing projects in progress that are more important and have tighter deadlines? Yes, I do. Am I starting a new one anyway? Yes, of course. So I was inspired by this absolutely gorgeous cloak that I saw on Etsy. And while I have neither the time nor the inclination to make something quite that massive, I thought it would be delightful to make a little hood and capelet in that kind of style, covered with leaves, that I could use as part of some sort of autumn fairy costume. So here we go.
I've traced my pattern pieces onto this scrap paper, and I'm marking lines about an inch apart, which I figure is about how far apart the different layers of leaves will be in order to overlap each other properly. I'm doing this so that I can get a rough count of how many leaves I'm going to need for this project. And you can see here's the other side of the paper where I've already drawn out the markings for the other pattern piece. Now I've pulled a bunch of fake leaves out of my craft stash, and I'm laying them in rows across these marked pattern pieces to figure out approximately how many leaves I'll need per row. I added up all the rows of leaves and doubled those numbers because I'm going to have to cut 2 of each of these pattern pieces, and the final result is that I'm going to need over 400 fake leaves to cover this.
I went over to the Dollar Tree and acquired a large quantity of fake leaves, which I now have to go through the tedious process of sorting by color before I can start attaching them to my cloak.
So enjoy this brief montage of me sorting leaves while watching TV. Bonus points if you can figure out what I'm watching in the background, since apparently I kept looking up away from my leaves.
I didn't manage to film myself attaching this first row of leaves, but here they are. I decided to start with green at the bottom, and then I'm going to move up to some sort of yellow-greenish colors through yellow, yellow-orange, and end with red around my face.
Since I skipped filming this step the first time around, here I am pinning the second row of leaves into place. As with all sewing, moving from right to left with the pins because that makes life easier. The actual process of pushing the fabric through the sewing machine and attaching the leaves to the cloak is not terribly interesting, but here, have a brief glimpse of the annoyingness of trying to push a wad of fabric plus a whole bunch of crinkly fake leaves through the sewing machine. Now I get to do this about 50 more times.
I've attached the hood and stitched on the second layer of leaves. I'm super happy with how this is coming together so far. This is going to look really good. But I doubt you want to watch me pin and stitch 20 odd layers of leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you images of each layer as I finish it, working up toward the finished product.
4 layers in, I've moved into yellow. And about 6 layers in, I've used up most of my yellows and started adding in a few yellow oranges. Almost done covering the capelet section, and I'm about to move on to the red oranges. Moving up onto the hood with red orange. Now I'm about halfway up the hood and I've started adding in some red.
It was becoming rather difficult to fit this narrow top part of the hood into the sewing machine, so I've switched over to hand sewing these last few rows. It's a little bit tedious, but not too bad because I don't have to worry about the stitches being pretty and even since they'll all be invisible. The only thing that's actually giving me trouble is the thread catching around all the points of these little leaves and making it difficult to pull the thread tight without getting it knotted around things.
And here's the outer leaf layer pretty much finished.
For the lining of the cloak, I'm going to use this somewhat sheer red fabric. A little bit of the brown might show through it, but if so, that's completely fine. It'll just look like a darker red, and it should be lovely. Since red is kind of my color, having it around my face should look pretty good.
I completely forgot to film myself putting in the lining on this, but here it is, this sheer dark red lining put in all the way around, and then I added a strip of lightweight boning around the hood to help it hold its round shape. So with that, this thing's finished.
And now, the review.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, fare thee well.